Today's episode of The Mom Game is brought to you by our friends at Gateway Buick GMC at LBJ and Jupiter. We all know that buying a car can be stressful, but not at Gateway, because their slogan is, Gateway's got it. And just what does that mean? Well, it means Gateway's got a wide selection of new Buicks, GMCs, and GM-certified used vehicles, all competitively priced. Gateway's got it. In these busy times, you want a car dealer who makes things easy and convenient. Well, guess what? Gateway's got it. In fact, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, select your vehicle. 2, create your offer. 3, schedule your delivery. And on top of all this, Gateway Buick GMC offers complimentary car washes for life. And who doesn't want that? So when you want a dealer who has it all, Gateway's got it. You can find them online at gatewaybuickgmc.com or shop in person at LBJ and Jupiter. GMC, we are professional grade. Experience the new Buick. And welcome to episode 120 of The Mom Game. I am Emily Jones. She is Julie Dobbs. And we have a very special guest right off the top. He's going to be with us the whole time because I feel like we're going to have plenty to talk about. His name is Greg Williams. If you are familiar with The Ticket in Dallas, the famous radio station, you have heard of Greg Williams. You might be wondering where he has gone and what he has done and what he has been doing. And we're going to dive into all of that here today on The Mom Game. So, Greggo, thanks so much for being with us.
I'm so impressed with that live spot you did,
Thank
right?
you.
I mean, 1 minute on the nose.
Thank you very much. I have been doing it for quite some time, and I did it for the first time without a script. So
That's amazing.
It's so nice to see you not in a dugout.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
She does emerge from the dugout from time to time.
I creep out of there every great once in a while. Yeah. Okay. I want to start. I like to do. I'm real OCD. Like to do things like chronologically.
Okay.
So let's go back to little baby Greggo.
Okay.
Maybe not baby, but like, tell me where did you grow up? Where did you go to college? When did this whole broadcasting thing jump into your brain?
Okay. First of all, wasn't a little baby. I weighed 13.3.
Oh wow, that's
and y'all
impressive.
were moms, so how about that?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Born in 1960.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So
that makes
that's
you
before they had the good pains.
62. Wow.
62.
Okay.
62. My father was in the Air Force, so we kind of grew up all around the world. We lived in Spain, lived in Turkey, lived in Germany, lived in Virginia.
Okay.
And just all around. Then we moved back to Wise County when I was in the 7th grade.
Siblings?
Yeah, I have a brother and 2 sisters.
Okay. Gotcha. Middle of
I'm the
oldest.
Oh, I'm the oldest and the dominant. Yep.
Oh
yeah.
I have no doubt about the
yes.
dominance.
My sister just had a birthday, and it always brings back memories because she was basically my slave when I was a kid.
Okay.
So
I'm sure she appreciated that
Oh,
greatly.
she did. She was my remote control.
Okay.
You know, I tell her, I'd always, hey, come in here, Patty, come here. I got something for you. Got something. She'd come in there and go, can you put that on Channel 5?
And she'd oblige happily. Yeah. She's just happy to be wanted and needed. Yeah, I feel like that's every big brother's role in a way. Okay, so getting into your adulthood, tell us how the broadcasting career kind of came to be for you.
UNT?
No, I went to TCU.
Oh, that's right.
I went to
You're
TCU.
TCU Greggo. What am I thinking?
Yes.
You remembered 3 letters.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have a baseball career, and I found out about 5 minutes into the first practice in college. I went to Ranger Junior College.
Okay.
That there's people in here that are 100 times better than me. So I just had a good time.
Okay.
I just had a good time in Ranger. Made the team and traveled around. Billy Clyde Gillespie was my roommate.
Okay. Nice.
The former Aggie coach and Kentucky coach. But then after that I decided that I was just going to be a bartender.
Okay.
So I started bartending in Fort Worth and had a great time. I always knew I was going to go back to college.
Okay.
I just woke up one morning and said, you know what? It's time. So I went back to college, got out of college in 3 years with zero debt. Zero debt.
Nice.
How'd
That's
you
impressive.
Pay for it yourself or your parents?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Got a few scholarships, and then, but mainly I had 3 jobs. Just worked my way through it. Then I got an internship at Channel 5. Then I got an internship at WBAP, and from WBAP is where I met Reiner. And we were covering all the games together. That was back when you probably had 5 radio reporters in town, and that's it. And so we covered games together, and he recruited me for the ticket, and there you go.
Okay. Kids, married? What happened in that?
Never married.
Never married.
Never married. Never married. Just my mom, when I was growing up, she taught me how to iron and fold clothes. Nobody can iron better than me. Nobody can fold clothes better than me.
I'm not good at either.
I'm awesome.
Are you for hire?
And my mother said that she had to teach me because she was pretty certain that I would never find anybody stupid enough to marry me.
Okay.
So my mother's very funny.
Difficult to get along with, maybe? Is that what, did she pick that up on? Or what? Or just that you're too...
Just very mischievous.
Okay.
I never got in any kind of trouble, but, I was just very mouthy. I remember I had a teacher...
Mouthy?
Oh, yeah. No. I had a teacher, tell me one time, said, Greg Williams, that mouth is going to get you nowhere. I'm like, well, maybe. I don't know. And then, it kind of did a little bit.
So you liked to talk, and you found yourself doing radio after meeting Mike?
I don't know if I like to talk. I just can't shut up.
Okay.
That's the key.
So you don't know if you like it or not, but it just happens. There's nothing you can do about it.
And see, that's a problem because I don't have any filter. I mean, stuff just comes out of there, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could just get that back, but you never can.
And that's just kind of been that way your whole life.
Yeah.
So how did you and Mike Reiner, the founder of the ticket, godfather of the ticket, or whatever you want to call it, how did you form that relationship? And then how did that, we've talked to Mike about kind of the evolution of the ticket. Where was your role in that?
Okay, we covered the same events. We covered all the Maverick games, covered all the Ranger games, all the Cowboy games, and we called it the back of the bus. And we were in the old Arlington Stadium. We were in the upper press box, and we just kind of took that over, and we started doing our show, believe it or not. Then I mean, that's the genesis of our show, was in the press box. Something would happen, and we'd crack a one-liner or whatever, or we'd play a joke on somebody, and that's what it really started. Because the original was going to be me, Reiner, and Craig Miller.
Okay,
that was gonna be the our show.
Also guest of the Mom Game. Craig Miller.
Yeah. Okay, so it was happening and organically in the press box between the two of you, and then you decided to, or when the ticket started, you were one of the main.
I'll tell you a funny story. It was, I was, had a pretty good job at WBAP, but Randy Galloway was there, Steve Lamb, he's been there since it was invented, and I was probably going to be able to work there for 20, 30 years if I wanted to, but I wasn't going to move up at all. And so I was covering a Ranger game. It was on the weekend, and I was doing the Rangers post-game show. And it was Kevin Brown. I don't know if you remember him. Kevin Brown. He pitched a 3-hitter against the White Sox and got beat. And he just destroyed. They used to have these fluorescent lights walking up the tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
And he broke every one of them. He destroyed a toilet, just absolutely destroyed it. And so I was in there covering after the game, and Reed Ryan, who he was an intern at WBAP.
Nolan Ryan's son.
And he told me, he said, my dad said that he could be such a great pitcher, but he's just got a head problem, and he's never going to have that much success just because of stuff like this. Okay, all right, no problem. So I go on to do extra innings, and I kind of related that story without any I didn't attribute it to anybody.
Okay.
I just said that Kevin Brown, he's kind of a nutcase, and da-da-da-da-da. Thought nothing of it. Oh, but let me back up a little bit. Reiner had already said he wanted me to come with it, but I wasn't for sure. I'm like, I've got a sure thing here, and if I flush it down, these media jobs are hard to come by. They're hard to come by. And so they call me in, the PD, and he says, "Man, you can't be saying that. You can't say that about Kevin Brown." I said, "Well, it's true." And then I told him, he goes, "Well, you still can't say it." And I said, "Well, Randy Galloway could say that." And he goes, "Well, let me tell you something. You are not Randy Galloway. You just keep it generic." Walked right in the office, called Reiner, "I'm in."
Okay.
You could tell it was something different, something unique, and maybe you could be a little bit more you with him.
So, okay, you've mentioned Randy a couple of times. What's your relationship like with him? What was it like over the years? What's it like now?
It was very good. I mean, he and I traveled, quite a bit, and I loved Randy. Loved where I was his producer for 5 years, and it was terrific. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun working for him, and he was just I learned so much from him.
Yeah, Randy's a good dude. We should have him on the Mom Game. He's good. He's always good fun. Okay, so when the ticket starts, it's I'm sure met with a certain level of skepticism.
It was the greatest kept secret in the world because nobody knew about it, but we had everything set up. Mm-hmm. Everything set up. We had everything except money. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any money, and so word filtered out that, hey, there's an all-sports station might come, because they had an all-sports station in New York, they had one in Boston, they had one in Minnesota, had one in L.A., but they didn't have one in Dallas. And the story was, you can't have an all-sports station unless you have a franchise. And we weren't going to get no franchise. That wasn't going to happen.
Okay, what do you mean by franchise?
You had to be the
official flagship of the Cowboys. You had to be there.
Yeah. And they were tied up. So then, it just started evolving from there. Everything evolved with the getting the lineup set up, and when word filtered out that there was going to be an all-sports station, and then everybody started wondering, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? And so they started naming all these media types in Dallas. They didn't hit none of us. Zero.
So y'all were the unsuspecting candidates.
And then when they found out who it was, oh my gosh. I mean, Barry Horn had a field day. Who are these guys? Yeah. They can't do this. What can possibly happen? And the saving grace that we had was we had Skip in the morning, Skip. I know. It's I've never known one person to say a good word about him.
Yeah,
not one person. But he brought the money. If he hadn't brought the bag of cash,
there's the one good thing we can say about him.
Yeah, he brought the bag of cash, and then we had Chuck in the afternoon. And so it was kind of like, we're going to have Chuck and Skip, and we'll just throw these other guys in, let them take some phone calls and whatever. And it kind of reversed around. Because we were working. Kurt Menefee was.
There's some big names.
He was a day oneer, and he worked the 9 to 11. Then Reiner and I worked 11 to 2, and then Dunham and Miller worked 2 to 5. And that was another big score, was getting George Dunham. Because he had a family and a new baby, and he had a great job with the Texas State Network. And when Craig told him about it, he's like, "Well, man, I want in." They weren't even going to ask him because they didn't think he'd go. And George's like, "Oh, I'm in. Yeah, I'm in on this."
Wow. And look at it now.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of the same people are still there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is about. The odds on that many people still being there on the first day that we went on were 1,000,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah. How many years later is it now?
Oh, yeah, from 94, so what was that, 27 years?
27, yeah, they had the 25th anniversary just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Okay, so when did the hard line, the hard line for the longest time was Mike Reiner and Greg Williams. Mm-hmm. When did y'all transition? It was the hard line in that slot, that 11 to 1?
Well, 11 to 2. Yeah, and here's a good story.
Love good stories.
Is that we were going to be fired. Because, I mean, we did an unconventional show that nobody had ever done in this area. I mean, it was, sports was like a funeral. I mean, you covered it straight. It wasn't funny. Mm-hmm. And that's what, we didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, our ratings were going to be horrible. I mean, we were a bad show. I hated it. So the consultants hated us. And so in the 6th month, we were going to be fired. Reiner intercepted a fax.
Facts.
and it was, we were going to be fired.
Wow.
And so they already made plans that we were going to be gone. And then something weird happened, something really weird. We'd been on the air for 6 months, and we got our ratings, and we were number 1.
Nice. People were ready for something different.
Yeah, I mean, number 1, and nobody could believe that. And then all of a sudden, the owners are like, well, let's not fire them just yet.
Put the fax back in the fax machine. And send it back into the universe.
So was it just you and Mike?
Yes.
To start?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, whatever board op we had.
Right.
And Jeff Catlin, I mean, he was our producer.
Okay. And then what was that chemistry like between the two of you, between you and Mike, and why do you think it was so well received?
Well, a couple things. I'm a firm believer in talk radio. You can either do it or you can't. I'm a firm believer in that. Not saying that I can do it, but I
did it for a while.
I do have a way of communicating, and Ryan and I just meshed. And like I said, we'd set the foundation for the show, and just in the press boxes and hanging out and going out and having a beer after the games. Mm-hmm. And so it was really set there. Mm-hmm. And so when we got on the air, Reiner, he just said, "Man, just be you." He said, "Be you." He said, "If you think of something to say and you have to think, should I say that? Say it."
Don't go the other way. Just say it.
And so we worked 11 to 2 for 4 years, I believe. And then they brought in Mike Thompson, who was, he's the guy that I give a lot of credit for on the ticket. And then he moved us to 12 to 4. And we worked that for a while. We didn't like that. We didn't like that extra hour.
Yeah.
And then they moved us to afternoon drive. And I'll never forget that. I'm like, oh my God, Rhines, we can't do this. We can't compete against Galloway and Brad Sham. Don't worry about it. We'll kick their ass. Don't worry about it. We'll kick their ass. And I'm like, oh man, he's delusional, man. I mean, he's delusional. We can't beat them guys. And then we from day one. I mean, we were day one. I forget how many consecutive books that we were number one, but it was
That's
6-7
awesome.
years straight.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I grew up in Austin. I was living in Austin at this time. I'm not one of those people that listened to the ticket from the very beginning. Now I work there, and I'm still part-time there. Worked there for 3 years full-time. But how would you describe to somebody that didn't listen to your show like me, what was your show like? What was it about it that just really worked? How do you describe your show with Mike?
Controlled chaos. Just control chaos. I mean, we tried to cause as much chaos as we could. And we, the conventional, we broke every rule there was to break. We tried to break a rule every single day because it seemed to work. Mm-hmm. It all seemed to work. And when we did, it was we're standing in line at a grocery store. This is just an example. And something weird happens. Well, I'd tell that on the air. And, we'd go to remotes and people go, "Oh man, that happened to me in a grocery line too." And I'm like, "Well, wait just a minute. I broke down that 4-3 defense against the 3-4, and I really put a lot of research. Oh yeah, that was good too. Oh, but we're not grocery line." And so that's when the golden bulb of enlightenment came.
Isn't that funny? And that's how it still is.
Yeah.
People relate to that. People love those stories. I mean, that's how like Seinfeld took off, right? It was just telling stories about minute, funny little things that happened throughout the day. And Curb Your Enthusiasm, all of it.
And then we weren't scared to say anything. I mean, we weren't scared to fail because we were going to fail, and we all knew it. I mean, it was going to be a failure, and so we had no fear of that.
So this industry can be extremely fickle and persnickety, you could say, and competitive. How were you guys received within the media landscape?
Hated us. Everybody hated us. Because they didn't know how to react. I mean, we were nobodies. And Skip, he wasn't the most liked guy in the world. And, Chuck Cooperstein, everybody's like, "Chuck, what are you doing over there with those losers? Get out of there." And Barry Horn hated us. Oh, for the first 4 or 5 years, nobody from the morning news was allowed to come on.
Because that was a company directive?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a directive. They couldn't come on. But slowly but surely, we'd go, and we didn't care about this. I mean, we didn't give a rat's whether anybody liked us or not. We were going to do our show and, just see what happens. Mm-hmm. But slowly but surely, a lot of the big media people would come up to us and go, "Hey, man, you guys are pretty good." And then the morning news guys are like, "Man, we'd love to come on with you guys." Beat writers.
Yep.
Jerry Fraley, he's like, "Man, I'd love to come on with you guys, but they won't let us." And then it evolved to where that everybody in town was knocking our doors down trying to get booked on there. And of course, me and Rhymes remembered it, and we didn't book them.
Love it. You said, where were you when we started this thing?
Right.
And then people started probably gravitating towards the station and wanting to emulate what you guys were doing a little bit and wanting to take that kind of controlled chaos show and maybe make another one and another one. How did that work as the ticket began to grow and evolve while you guys were there, maybe kind of anchoring the thing?
It was, everybody had their own show, and everybody did their own deal. This was when, after we'd moved, Dunham and Miller moved to Morning Drive before we did. And their show was completely different than ours. And now we did have one indefensible, I call it the crane kick. It's indefensible. And that was Gordon Keith. Gordo. There's no defense for him. No. I mean, he does stuff that nobody else can do, and people have tried, and they can't do it. And so we had him, and he was bouncing back and forth to, between the morning show and our show. And we just said, hey, go out and do funny stuff.
I don't know that I've ever seen anyone more talented in that space than Gordon Keith is. He's so incredibly talented. And so it's funny that you mention him, because I feel like within you guys, everyone kind of recognizes what the other brought to the table or brings to the table. Did you guys get along? Did you all get along?
Oh, it was a frat party. The second year of the ticket, me and Craig Miller and Ted Ganji. I don't know if you know Ted Ganji.
The name.
I knew him.
He was Dunham Miller's first producer. We all lived in a house, and it was, and so much of that stuff was me and Craig and Gordo sitting out by the pool, and Gordo would be playing guitar, and we'd be crank calling KRLD or Cliff, making crank phone calls, drinking beer, getting sloshed.
Yeah.
One time we all took turns riding Ted Ganji's brand new $800 bike into the pool.
Oh.
rode it into the pool. And just hijinks. Never locked our door. Anybody that wanted to come over could. And it was like a frat house.
Wow. Sounds like fun and a lot different than how things are now.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
That we had there. And the thing is that there was no petty jealousy. Once we got Skip out of there was just no jealousy whatsoever. Everybody did their show. We were having fun. We were making decent money. We were getting to be on the air. That was the whole thing. We were getting to get on the air and do whatever we want.
When did Corby enter the equation?
Corby was like a part-time board op that worked overnight. And I remember he was working a remote one time, and we were at some kind of golf place. I have no idea. And he went out there and swung. And Rhino goes, God, look at that swing on that guy. And that's how we were kind of introduced to Corby.
Was his golf swing?
Yeah, just his golf swing. And, he had something. And I mean,
a level of bravado.
And he was so good at what he did, and just pulling pranks. He pulled a great prank on Chuck Cooperstein that's legendary.
What was that?
I don't know if I can tell it or not.
Oh, dang it!
I don't know if I can tell it or not.
Okay.
But
it was named names, then you could have used.
Oh no! You know what? I'll go ahead and tell it. I have no filter.
Okay.
It was during the fax days. And
the fax machine.
Yes,
okay.
yes. And so, we thought we were so cutting edge because people could fax us stuff and we could read it right then, instantaneous. It's so primitive now, but back then it was great. And so Corby made a fake one. He made a fake, and he was the worst person in the world. He was producing for Chuck. And Chuck didn't go for this kind of stuff, and we all knew it, and we all loved Chuck. I love Chuck to this day, but he didn't do that. Now he loved us doing it. I mean, we were his biggest fan. I mean, he was our biggest fans, but he didn't do it.
Yeah, he was not going to. He can laugh at the hijinks, but he's not participating in the hijinks. Exactly.
So Corby was trying to get him, and so he made some deal. The Rangers, can they make this trade? Da 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 da. Signed Big Harry COX.
Oh, yes. They play that drop on the ticket all the time.
Big Harry Cox. And so Chuck goes on there, and you've heard the drop, and he goes, This is for big hairy cocks. Big hairy cocks.
It is.
And and Corby is just dying laughing in there.
Because he says it so emphatically.
And how he didn't, Chuck is so smart. How he didn't catch it, I'll never know. And Corby didn't think he would say it.
Right.
And when he did, we're marking that. And that was back in the days when we had carts, we had to plug a cart in and hit a button to play it.
Yeah.
And that just legendary.
Okay, before we continue, we got to get in sponsor, Bottle Rover.
Yes.
And by the way, before Julie tells us about Bottle Rover, thank you. Greggo brought us.
He brought us some wine.
He knows the way to butter us up.
I just thought that was, you guys invited me on, and it's going to be a freak show.
So the wine is called Freak Show.
Love it. That's a good wine. I've had that before.
We're about to get freaky with it after we talk.
Boy, not me. Not me. I got another 2 months, and I get my 5-year chip.
Good for
5-year chip.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second.
We will talk about that.
Yes.
But for those of you that would like to try Freak Show or any other sort of alcoholic beverage, call our friends at Bottle Rover. They will hook you up. They've saved me in emergencies multiple times in the past few weeks. They're an alcohol delivery platform. You get free delivery on any order over $50, which is really easy to hit if you're at the booze store. We all know that. So basically free delivery to get it to come right to your doorstep. They support local. They shop nearby liquor stores that are by your house. Bottle Rover is a local company, so support them instead of some big other name alcohol delivery service. Use Bottle Rover. It's super easy. You just download the app. You can search for what you're looking for. They'll find it near you and they'll bring it to you pretty quickly. You can also schedule your orders for pickup or delivery if you know you're planning a big event and you're not going to have time to go out and go to the alcohol store or that kind of thing. They do have nationwide coverage, but they're based out of Dallas, and we're just so happy to have them back with us here on the Mom Game. We love sponsors that we use. It's a sponsor you can use, Bottle Rover.
Yeah, and speaking of sponsors that we use, big fan of the. Okay, so you you said no booze for you.
No.
What about CBD? Do you dabble in the gummies?
No.
Okay, well, is that
That's
good? Good
now,
for
what
you.
is that?
Let me tell you. So we have
like pot or something?
It kind of. So it's not. Well, I mean, I guess kind of. So their Early Bird is our sponsor of the Mom Game. They're amazing. I had never tried. I mean, I take that back. I dabbled in the gummies like that you get from Colorado or wherever when I was in Colorado, when I did it very legally. But these are CBD gummies that contain less than 2.5 milligrams of natural THC. So they're not just CBD. They have a little THC to give you that nice little calming, happy, relaxing, buzzy type feeling that for me, it just makes me chill the fuck out, which I really need to do on a regular basis. And we've got a lot of listeners who have tried Early Bird as well. We got a couple of comments in our DMs saying, from Sue, I love the lemon, cannot believe how well they work. From Jamie, strawberry is the best. I accidentally ordered watermelon though by mistake, and I'm not mad about it. So people are trying them. They're liking them. For me, it helps me sleep. If I'm just wound up, I just take one.
A good way to chill.
Yep.
Is it legal?
Early Bird
It's
and chill.
legal.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't want anything to do with it. If it's illegal, I don't
If
want
it's
anything
legal,
to do with
you're
that.
out.
That takes all the fun out of it.
Well, if you want to try Early Bird CBD gummies, all you have to do is visit earlybird.com/TMG and you'll get 20% off your first order.
Yeah, that's also in our link tree on Instagram,
Absolutely.
Twitter. You can go in, just click on it, and it'll bring you to that website and give you
I ate some pot brownies one time.
There you go.
Way back.
How'd that go?
Way back.
How'd that go?
I don't remember.
Okay, well,
I don't remember.
there you go.
They did their job.
It was in the 80s. I
Must
don't
have been
remember.
great. Okay, so we talked about kind of the evolution of the hard line. When Corby came on board, that's when I started listening. I moved to Dallas in 2004. So when I would come to Dallas, I would listen. So I knew who you guys were, and then I got here in 2004, and that was my first introduction to you guys, as far as like actually meeting and whatever, was at Dallas Cowboys training camp in Oxnard in 2004, and Corby came up to me with a wireless mic. And y'all were in his ear, of course. And then, it's basic small talk. And then all of a sudden, he asked if I fart while I put on my makeup. And I'm like, I'm trying to like play it cool. I'm new to this market, whatever. And so that has followed me around everywhere. It'll be like, I won't hear it for like 6 months. And then somebody will just tweet me and be like, do you fart when you put on your makeup? And I'm like, fucking A, like, leave it alone. Like, but that one little thing.
Oh,
that's how it works.
Yeah.
He's a genius. Corby is. Now, Reiner didn't want to hire him. He did not want him on the show.
Why?
He was too Gen X.
Okay.
Too Gen X. But it became very apparent.
And then how was the balance and the relationship and the chemistry between the three of you?
Great. It was great until I went off the rails.
Okay.
But it was good. And Corby, it took him about probably 20 minutes to get acclimated with us.
Yeah.
And then he was just part of everything, and he did he was one of those guys that you didn't have to tell him what to do. Mm-hmm. A lot of people you have to tell them, hey, we need you to go out and do this. You didn't have to tell him that. I mean, he knew when it was time to do a bit. He knew you couldn't do a bit every single day, and he had just impeccable timing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mentioned going off the rails. When did you? I mean, that sounds awful, but when did you start the descent, the decline?
I made the worst mistake that I've ever made in my life. I had lap band surgery and lost a lot of weight.
I remember that.
Lost a lot of weight and completely lost my soul with it because suddenly I thought I was somebody that I really wasn't.
In what regard?
I just had more confidence, and it was when the ticket was really, it had really hit another level. I mean, we were at the highest level, and then we hit 2 more levels.
What year was this lap band?
2004, 5.
Okay,
somewhere around in there.
So that's weird. I never would have made that correlation.
Oh yeah, it completely changed me, and for the worst. I mean, it made me a I like to think that I was a good person, but after that, I wasn't. I mean, I was a horrible person.
So it was like the girl in high school that wasn't very cute. Then she goes to the 20-year reunion and she's all hot and had a bunch of work done. And
I wasn't hot, but I was. I didn't weigh as much.
Okay.
And see, that's another thing. I didn't even qualify for that surgery.
Why did you get it?
Laziness. I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't want to put in the work.
Okay.
And so I had a doctor that was going to do it, and I was like 30 pounds.
How old were you?
Let me see. I guess I would have been 42, 43.
Okay.
And had a doctor that instead of making me 5'11", he made me 5'7", and so then I qualified for it, and had it, and it worked, and no problems, but. It destroyed everything I'd worked for.
So
now I'm not blaming that.
No, but that was what.
I mean, that's the reason.
The catalyst.
It's not an excuse. I will never give an excuse. But it is a reason.
Was it? It was just that it shifted your mindset, and you felt like you were a whole new kind of person that was maybe invincible, or is there something chemically that it messed with to have a giant surgery like that?
I have a very addictive personality, but I didn't know it at the time. At the time, I just didn't know it. And it just between that, just I always say it destroyed and stole my soul. Between that and I'm a guy that didn't handle success. I just didn't handle it on any level. Just didn't handle it. Some people are like that.
Well, you're not alone. I mean, that's what tons of athletes deal with, right? Yeah. It's the same thing. It's kind of an out-of-body experience once you get to a certain level where maybe you never saw yourself and you think that nothing can stop you.
I can't tell you how many athletes that I'd go in the air and just rip the hell out of, because how could you do that? How could you throw all that away? And then I'll be damned, I did the same thing.
So when did you? So did it? Was it? When you mentioned the addictive personality, was it drugs? Was it just alcohol? Was it both?
It was never alcohol. I hardly ever drank. I'll get to that in a minute. I hardly ever drank, but when I was a bartender, I dabbled in drugs, cocaine and whatever, and. Then, I'll never forget it because I was hanging around with the Jet Set crew. Once again, I didn't need to have any business hanging around with this Jet Set crew in Highland Park.
Okay, meaning the uber wealthy humans.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so I was hanging out with them at a party, and somebody passed them by. I'm like, man, I haven't done that in a long time. Yeah, let me go ahead and do it. And that started.
And
little did I know that the addictive gene that had been in me my whole life was going to really rear up real big time.
So were you using when you would go to work?
Before, never during.
Right.
But before, definitely.
And how did you find you I mean, was it was it daily? Was it every other? It was daily. So once you get in that spiral, you couldn't get out.
It started out, weekly, and then, 2 times a week, 3 times. And the next thing you know, it's
every day.
Yeah, every single day. And the thing is I wasn't fooling anybody. Everybody knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. They knew it. It's like I always say, you're always the last person to know you're an asshole. Everybody else knows it, but you're the last person. And that was the same thing with me. I was living in my own little fantasy world.
Mm-hmm. And then that, obviously in turn takes tolls on your relationships. What was your, you mentioned you had never been married. Mm-hmm. Was there, and I think probably that lends itself to addiction more than anything because you don't have anyone to be accountable to. You know what I mean? You don't have anybody keeping you in check.
I thought I was having fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought I was having fun. I was making, a lot of money, living in a great place on Turtle Creek, and
you were famous, in this realm.
Yeah. And it was all a fantasy. I mean, I was on a mountain. I was at the top of the mountain, but the mountain was made out of glass. Mm-hmm. And then it would shatter. And when it shattered, you don't go down 2 or 3 rungs. You go to the bottom. Mm-hmm. Only you don't know you're on the bottom.
Right. So how long did that process, when you started to decline, how long did it take to hit rock bottom? And did you hit it multiple times?
Probably about 2 years. And and one of it was, 1 year doing it on the ticket, and then, a year after.
Okay. Because you got fired at that point, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After about 07. A year. Okay. Is when you got fired. Mm-hmm. And then what was that? Did you hit bottom then, or did you just keep?
No. But once again, I had this, fake self-worth, zero self-awareness. I mean, zero self-awareness. And I thought, okay, screw it. Just give me another job.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Once again, it was 1991. Not a lot of jobs around, especially hiring somebody that, that was fired the reason that I was. People would, but they did. ESPN took a chance on me, and that was a disaster. I had everybody in the world tell me not to take that job, but I did, and it was a disaster.
Were you still using then?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, because I wasn't making a lot of money then.
You got to have money.
That's one of the good. That's one of the good ways to get off coke. Is don't have any money.
Right.
So did you go to rehab in between the ticket and ESPN?
Yes. Yeah. I went to rehab while I was working. I mean, that was part of the deal. Because they were going to drug test me. I called my lawyer and I said, they want to drug test me. And he goes, well, go take it. And I go, I can't pass it. He goes, don't take it.
Yeah.
And then, they just confronted me, Jeff Catlin and Dan Bennett, and they confronted me. They had it, and they just put it. So I said, yeah. And they said, okay, well, we're going to get you to rehab. And then I went to, rehab for like a week and then like a month of outpatient.
Okay.
And then that was it for me. There was no coming back to the ticket. I thought I was coming back. But they'd already decided
that was part of the deal.
Yeah, that I was going to be out, and should have been out. I mean, they did the only thing that they could.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to.
And it was going on for a while, and before it hit that point where they really felt like maybe they had no choice.
They didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I couldn't come back. Even if I was totally rehabbed, I was so scarred. You don't want that on there. Mm-hmm. And the ticket, you say what you want about, some of the content, but that pretty clean bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very clean bunch.
I was going to say that when you're talking about the whole idea of yours and Mike's show and why it was so different, because y'all were so funny and you were trying to break rules and you just went for whatever came to your mind. You would say it. I could see where the line is blurred between like having fun on the air and then partying off the air and maybe thinking that it all kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, I was surprised when I went They do. They sound like half the time they have a beer in their hand when they're broadcasting, right? And then I'd be like, okay, guys, y'all want to go out after this? And everyone's like, nope, going home to my wife, going home to my kids. Like, there's nothing. And so I can see where maybe the lines got a little blurred.
That's why it's such a unique situation.
Yeah.
Because it's, you listen to it and everybody thinks that, oh my gosh, I mean, these guys right here, I mean, these are party animals.
Yeah.
And if they only knew.
Right.
Yeah, if they only knew.
And so when you leave or they get fired from the ticket and then you're going to go to ESPN, what was the time in between? How much time was
about
in between?
8 months.
Okay.
About 8
and
months.
Did you relapse?
Oh, several times.
Several times.
Several times.
While you were there at ESPN?
Not then.
Did you do the Fan too?
But after, yeah.
Okay.
I worked at the Fan for almost 4 years.
Okay. I feel like I came on. You were with Richie, weren't you?
Yep.
Richie
Yep.
Witt.
Yep.
I feel like I came on with you guys.
You
at
did.
some point. Yeah.
You did several times.
Okay. So this is just kind of a long and winding road that you're trying to find your way out of during that time. How were you received in those situations at ESPN and at the Fan?
I was very well received, but it was the most ill fit in the world because that was back when it was protect the brand, protect ESPN, and I didn't protect it very well.
Right.
And so it was a bad fit.
The ticket was the fit for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And when that wasn't an option.
I always like to say that I don't like doing radio. I just like doing the ticket.
Yeah, it's
because there's a
different.
big difference.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of when you look at what triggered? You said you're almost coming up on 5 years sober. I would assume that includes drugs and alcohol.
Everything.
So what clicked and what is stuck in the last 5 years?
I was in a really bad relationship. And I was really down. I was really down. I was really, really, really down.
Like that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to talk about it, but I think I know where you're going.
I had, family members that came and rescued me. And they got me out of that situation. And then it was another trip to rehab that kind of worked.
Yeah. What do you think was different?
You're going to get clean when you want to get clean, and not a second sooner. Not a second sooner.
What made you want to get clean?
I knew that I couldn't go anywhere with what I was doing. I just had to clean up. I was killing myself. I was just a bad person. I was, totally depressed. Oh my gosh, and finally. I was so antidepressants. I was like, I'm not taking those. And I finally had a doctor said, "Look, man," said you are, manic depressant, and you got to take this stuff. And so I started taking it.
Yeah, my mom's the same way. She has to. And I think there's such a label of manic depressive or what's the other one? Manic depressive or anyway.
I don't know.
Oh shit!
But see, it doesn't bother me anymore. I let everybody know.
Right.
Because mental illness is
yes, and there's a reason, and I'm sure there's people out there that will disagree. But there's a reason. There's medication. I just see it with my mom. And if she does not take her medicine, she's a different human being, and she gets it's just not good. And it's like if we have this available to help you, and you're able to do it in a way where it's not abusive, it's not hurting you, but it's balancing you out. It's just so important.
I can't even tell that I take it.
Right.
But I can tell if I don't.
Right.
And it's probably been going on 5 years, and to my knowledge, I don't know that I've missed a dosage.
Right.
Just because it's, I don't want to, because I can function as normal right now, or as normal as I can get.
So do you feel like you're the old Greggo? Do you feel like you're that guy again? Who
I hope so.
Who are you right now? Because I want to ask.
I hope I'm smarter.
Yeah. Okay, but
I'm not as sportsy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got to ask you, some of the Twitter rants you go on though seem a little out there. Are those? Do you just get in kind of a mood?
Well,
because people were, people bringing to our attention. Are you going to have Greggo on because he's saying this and he's saying that?
We're like, it's Twitter.
I know it's right, but there are times when you go. It looks a little. Whoa, what's going on?
I try to dial back.
Right.
The worst thing that you can do is hit send.
Right.
Write it if you want to, but don't hit send.
Yeah.
But I hit send too much.
And why do you do that?
I've just got when I got fired from the Fan, I completely checked out on sports. And I started getting into, I got tired of everybody saying, well, the economy's great.
Right.
The economy. And I'm like, okay, well, what is the economy? What is it? And so I just went on a probably 18-month, just absolutely obsessive studying the economy.
Like
and
the addictive personality again. Maybe you found another way to channel that wasn't.
I read everything there was to read about the economy, and I'm no expert, but you could drop me into any master's economics class and I can hold my own right now.
Well, I mean, and you've had some hot sports opinions on women and, yeah. I mean, you're on, hey, women.
Yes, yeah.
Where do those come from? I mean, and I get listen, we've told my political story. I consider myself apolitical. I am fiscally conservative. I am socially liberal. There ain't a party for me.
That's me.
Well,
okay. I probably lean a little farther to the right than you do, but I am that person.
Do you feel like you're an accepting, open to, because the bottom line is you're 62 years old. Shit's changed a lot in your lifetime. Are you able to, I guess, be open-minded to
I changed
societal changes?
There have been, my core beliefs have been the same since I was 18 years old, for the most part. But there's only been one thing, and I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but I can't help it.
You're fine.
Is there's only one thing that I was absolutely 100% for and would go to the wall for it that I've completely flipped over.
Okay, what's that?
Abortion.
Okay.
I was totally for abortion my whole life until about probably 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
When the science showed something that I'd never seen before.
What's that?
Science had advanced to where that it just wasn't this easy procedure that I was told my whole life.
Right.
And so I flipped on that.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I'm not here to force political views on anyone. I feel like everyone has their right to their beliefs. And another thing, and I always say this, we're all shaped by our experiences. I may not feel a certain way about, gun control as Julie does because we come from different upbringings. That maybe there wasn't guns in this house, there was guns in the house. That's just one subject. But I think the problem we have as a society is we just think if people don't think exactly like us, then F them. And I that's not where I come from. And that's why, we did get some heat for having you on. People are like, why? He just went on this crazy MAGA rant when you're going to have him on the show. My whole thing is, you have your right to your opinions. You're an interesting story. I don't give a whatever. I'm not with you on all your political leanings for sure.
I don't want anybody. You know what? I don't want people.
Right.
I seek people out that have different views than me. I don't want people like me.
Right.
I don't want to have anything to do with them because that's boring.
Right.
You say something, that's right. That's right. That's right. I don't like that. I like different because if you engage with someone with different views, you can learn something if you listen.
But I think that's not the perception of you on Twitter.
The perception of me has never been what it was.
Right.
It never has been.
But I've always categorized you as this, and I told it to Julie in the bathroom before we came on the air. I said Greggo is a lot more bark than he is bite.
How many times I've heard that?
A lot more bark than you are bite. And I think sometimes, though, I feel like that might be a defense mechanism for you if I'm being a psychoanalyst here.
Never thought of that.
Do you feel like it might be that you're...
I never thought about that.
That it might be a defense mechanism for you?
Yeah.
And, I'm a fan of human comeback stories. And so I'm glad to hear that you're almost 5 years sober. And I hope that you're happy. I hope that you're well.
I am. I really am because I'm at peace with a lot of things. You have to make peace with things. That's I'm very, very involved in AA. A lot of people don't like it, and I don't agree with a lot of stuff they do in there, and I get in trouble for it. Because, you're supposed to follow everything to the letter, and I've never followed anything to the letter in my entire life. But, I'm very involved in that. I'm very involved in church.
What church do you go to?
The Hills in South Lake.
Just for my personal reference, what denomination is it?
It's kind of non-denominational, but it's somewhere between, we're kind of like a, half-assed Church of Christ.
Okay. Okay. And that's, again, not relevant at all. I was just curious. I go to a Methodist church and I grew up Baptist. And anyway, and my mom was Catholic. Like it's a lot of things going on religiously.
Well, I just have to say, like, after hearing your whole story and meeting you, like, way to go. Like, a way to realize what you were struggling with. It took time.
Oh, yeah.
It took time, but you seeked the help that you needed. And to be 5 years clean and getting on.
Not yet.
Coming up on it?
Coming up, 2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
You
can do it.
We'll celebrate. We'll celebrate with you.
Please.
I got one. But yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I think people need to know that about you. And that, would you say you're in a good place?
Oh, very good place.
A good place.
Oh, yeah. I'm probably in as good a place as I've ever been.
Awesome.
You know, that being mental wise.
Yeah.
You know,
that's great. Stay on it.
I'm at peace with stuff. You know, even in the early days of the ticket when we were rolling and everything was great, I wasn't really truly happy. Mm-hmm. You know, truly happy. I mean, because I wanted more. You know, because I was a hog. You know, I wanted more. You know, we were number one in the ratings. Well, I wanted to be number one by a big margin.
Right.
And just
see where this can go.
I didn't want to just have fun. I want to have all the fun.
Yeah.
Yes. The most turned up fun possible. Okay. Relationships. Did you mend those relationships at the ticket? Were you able to do that? Are you able to do that? Is that something you want to do?
It's kind of no. I would love to, but it's still pretty strained, especially with Rhines. You know, but I mean, I put him through hell. You know, I don't blame him one bit. You know, I'm hoping that one of these days that it can be repaired, but I don't know that it will. But, I have myself to blame. You know, he's blameless.
Yeah.
What are your relationships like now? Friends, family? Do you have a woman? Are you with woman?
No, not at all.
Emily asks everybody that question.
I do. Or man. Are you with woman or man?
No, not with man. Although, that's... I always said that if I had to do it all over again, I'd be bisexual because that just doubles your chance to get laid.
It is not too late. It's not too late.
Everything you literally look at is an option.
Exactly.
Look around, you can have it.
Exactly. That's what I said. So I don't know if I had to do it all over again, but I'm too old now.
No, it's not. It's never too late. It's never too late.
So as far as the ticket, what's it like seeing the station still thriving? Do you listen? Do you feel like, hey, I was a part of that thing? Or do you try not to listen because it brings back puts you in a place you don't want to go back to?
Maybe this will tell you. We were getting our ratings when I worked at the Fan. Mm-hmm. And somehow I was, in a way that I was talking, I can't remember what I say, but I looked at the ticket ratings and was like, all right, look at that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you... Oh! No! I didn't say that.
You were still happy for them.
So I'm happy with everything they do. I hope they go on as long as they want to go on.
For you, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? What do you hope to do?
I'm basically bored.
Which is why you're on Twitter so much.
Exactly. See, that's another thing. If I could.
Yeah, you're going to get that interaction from people. You still have a following there, so you can say whatever you want, and you're going to get feedback, and then all of a sudden you have some friends on Twitter. Like, I do the same thing sometimes. I'm like, I wouldn't mind just chatting with people.
Yeah, she had gluten-free pizza with her friends.
Exactly.
Wish I could get my old account back. I'm locked out of my old account.
I don't get it. What is it?
I've got an old account. I've got, almost 30,000 followers.
Who locked you out of it?
I don't have the password.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
The old password saga.
Right. I don't have
You got to
the
have a
password.
little cheat sheet somewhere.
I do now. Believe me.
Yeah.
But I don't really do a lot, I mean, I just, kind of hang out and do a lot of reading. I do more reading than any human being. And, like I said, involved in church, involved in AA, do some volunteer, work at the Humane Society.
Okay. Animals? You have pets?
I don't have one because where I live, you're not allowed to have them.
Okay.
And it's probably the first time in my life I've never had one.
I feel like you need one.
Oh, I do.
You need to move.
I so do.
Yeah.
I so do.
Definitely do.
My doctor said he could write me a prescription for a dog.
Oh, there you go. Hey,
yes,
a dog can do a lot.
Absolutely.
A dog can do a lot for your mentals.
I'm like,
for sure.
Go to the Tom Thumb pharmacy. I'll have my dog back there.
Yeah.
Put in one of those little bottles.
There you go.
Well, I feel like this has been great. Like I told Emily when people were maybe, why are y'all gonna have Greggo on? Blah blah blah. I'm like, you know what? everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. That's what this platform is for, to talk about it, to talk about life. And you have what I think is a very good success story in the end, to pull yourself out of that kind of low to where you are now. So I'm really glad that we didn't listen to any of those people, and that we just had this chat, and really it was only a small minority. I think a lot of people are really excited to hear from you.
If you're going to base what I do on Twitter, that's not me.
Exactly, and I think people.
Well, some of it is.
People got to know you really well. Like when you're on the radio every day, that's something I learned about radio. I'm like, wow, I'm just talking, but these people feel like they're my friend, and in a weird way, I am their friend. People got to know you really well over that 13 years or however long on the ticket, and then to just kind of be gone. I think people are interested in your story. They want to hear what you're doing now, and I think they'll be very glad to hear that you're doing well.
To this day, people still come up to me, and they'll come up with stories that I'd forgot about years ago. And I'm like, how do you remember that?
It impacted them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad you came in.
Yes, thank y'all very much.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share before we go? Did we leave out any good questions?
No.
Good promptings?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
all
it's,
right.
Let me see. I can't think of anything. Let's go, Brandon, maybe.
Okay. You know what? This is how out of politics I am. I know that's like something like it's.
I don't know what it is.
It's something bad about Biden, right?
Yeah.
It's like
they were.
or is it?
It was a NASCAR guy, and the NASCAR people were doing F Joe Biden.
Oh, they were saying it in the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guy's name that won the race was Brandon. And the girl that's interviewing go, oh, this and that. They're saying, let's go, Brandon.
Okay. I had heard that. That was like a really long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are his parting words here on the long game.
I know. We were trying to stay far away from politics. But no, I'm just kidding.
I was never political either.
Yeah.
Until the 2016 election, and it was just so interesting.
Yeah.
It was so ridiculous. And just, are you kidding
so
me?
ridiculous.
It's good to care about things.
And
it's
now,
good to care about things. I should care more.
I mean, if that's
it's good to have an opinion.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, and it's good if you're,
like you said, Emily, I have no party either.
We all come from our experiences. I am just like so grossed out by politics in general that I'm just like, ugh, gross, all of it.
Politicians are nothing but unathletic men.
That's
all they are.
That's not a bad way to characterize.
The president fell off the bike the other day, and
did he? Was that the president in that meme?
I give him a pass for that.
I had no idea that
he
was
did
him.
look good. I told Kelly, my husband, I was like, he looks very athletic and fit in his gear.
I give him credit because I've done that too. That's not that hard to do.
That is
Your feet get stuck in the pedal and you just slowly go down with the bike.
I thought that was just like some old dude.
No,
I did not know
president.
this. I mean, literally, I know nothing about politics.
That's what you get up for setting up a staged photo shoot.
Right.
That's what that was.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, Greggo, thanks so much for coming
you all
in.
very much.
We appreciate it. Hope we
friend of the mom game.
Yes, absolutely.
Come back sometime. We'll be here.
Yes, the way we. Hey, in 2 months, I want to check in on you to make sure you hit that 5-year mark.
We'll celebrate.
We want to know. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, we gotta look. We end every show. You look into the camera, throw up the peace signs, say "Mom Game Out." You ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Mom Game Out.